What's up, everybody? After a long-awaited season, we have finally made it to the Super Bowl. Some great matchups on Sunday in both the NFC and AFC championships. Let's take a look at what we got heading into the Super Bowl. As always, don't forget to like the video, comment your pick. That's the most important thing. We want to hear from you and your opinion. And as always, subscribe to the channel as well. Sliwa, this line has been moving since it's opened from the very beginning. I first got a glimpse at Chiefs +3. It's now moved to +1.5 and even trending towards the Chiefs' favor even more. I think this opened at like 46 and is teetering between 47.5 and 48 for the total. We've had a lot of close Super Bowls in recent memory, not a lot of teams that were large favorites before the game started. What's your initial take on just the matchup after Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, this is a rematch of the Super Bowl from 4 years ago. Chiefs won that one 31-20. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this is my initial thought too. Uh, where's that wasn't a high scoring game. The Chiefs were up or didn't trail for a moment in that game. And it's not the normal Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes win. The defense looks phenomenal.
Mhm.
And so I'm not really surprised to see people on the Chiefs line early here. I saw the +2.5. You saw +3, but yeah, already moving in their favor. And I feel like for me too, I mean, you were right on this Chiefs play
Oh,
against the Ravens. I mean,
gotta
I was
bet
on
it
the
Patrick
Ravens.
Mahomes. Yeah,
Uh,
gotta bet Patrick Mahomes.
yeah, but I mean, so that's what I'm kind of getting at. I feel like Mahomes at this point is kind of like a Tom Brady. Like, how do you bet
Yeah.
against him in the playoffs? And I
Yeah.
mean, I did,
Yep.
and I've been paying for it. So I feel like for that reason alone, I can't go against him. He didn't look phenomenal, but he played well within his game. No turnovers in that one, wasn't forcing things. Played well with the lead. So yeah, it's hard to go against him. Niners obviously that remarkable um comeback, but yeah, it feels like maybe people aren't too heavy on the Niners early because that was a game where the Lions kind of threw it away. It felt like in the second half, Dan Campbell going for it, where maybe he should have kicked a field goal.
Yep.
So
Yep. And we'll get into that more. I think yeah, I was questioning that as well. Great to get your initial take here. Before we do any official picks in this video or outside of this video, I kind of wanted to go through and kind of rewind, take a look at the box scores for each of those games and kind of talk about, do we think that like for the Chiefs example, like are we concerned about the offensive output? For the Niners, the defense looked a little sloppy. Let's take a look at the Chiefs, kind of the performance in the regular season in a few key stats, and then looking at specifically their last game against the Ravens. So I took these numbers from all the playoff teams in the AFC at the end of the regular season. The Chiefs, most notably, in not like typical seasons, if Chiefs pass, their defense is their strength. You see second in yards per game and third defensive points per game. That really came up huge against the Ravens, who have a top five offense in this league in terms of yards and points, and still no slouch on offense for the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, getting a top 10 finish in offensive yards per game and being 13th in offensive points per game. So, right off the bat, you're seeing that the defense is the strength of this Chiefs team, and it doesn't take a long watch on Sunday against the Ravens to get that realization. But you look at this Chiefs Ravens game, what really stands out to me is the second half scoring for both teams. No points for the Chiefs and 3 points for the Ravens. So, are you more impressed with the Chiefs' ability to hold the Ravens to even 10 points in total and three in the second half, or a little bit more concerned with the fact that the Chiefs only put up 17 and no points in the second half there?
I think I think I'm more impressed with the defense, honestly. I mean, the announcers went on and on about how good this Baltimore team was in this offense, averaging over 28 points per game, the most wins in NFL history against teams with the record over 500,
Yeah, couldn't believe it.
with nine of those by like 14 plus. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure I
Yeah,
heard.
I heard
So
that too.
yeah, so they were just dominating teams up until this point, and I've fully bought into it. And I don't want it to go unnoticed because I mean they're not moving on, but that Lamar Jackson tip pass that he caught to
So
himself, and
sweet.
that was awesome. That was
So
so
that could have
cool.
been a pick. That's a huge
I
play.
know that was
Huge play.
massive, but but yeah, I mean the Chiefs really disrupted Baltimore the entire game. Other than that Zay Flowers early touchdown, um, yeah, really made them look like not a top unit when they have been all season, especially on the road. I think I'm more impressed too with the defense because the Chiefs were never trailing in this game. It really felt like the offense wasn't trying to force anything. Like I said, no turnovers. So
Huge.
it
And
felt like they were
couple of
just in
red zone
control.
turnovers for the Ravens this game completely changed the outcome. You get that Zay Flowers, if that punch out happens half second later, it's a touchdown, and you get that Lamar Jackson costly interception too. You know, Luckily the defense held up and forced turnovers, but it's not inconceivable that the Chiefs could have lost this game and the Ravens could have won this with some great fourth quarter play.
Yeah, I mean, it was always there was always a chance, honestly, until really the last 5 minutes of the game,
Yeah.
or even a little bit less than that. But I want to add too, Travis Kelce looked great. I mean, didn't didn't really have any huge games towards the tail end of the season, but showed up tonight, um, big too, especially in that first half. He was over 100 yards
Oh yeah.
receiving, 10 catches in the first half. Really got that offense going, and they kind of that was enough to carry him to the win in this
hmm
game.
Yeah, I mean, he was great. Patrick Mahomes, like 30 for 39. Some of the throws, especially on third and fourth down, were absolutely perfect. One of them to Travis Kelce is really standing out in my mind, where the defender was draped all over him, and Mahomes threw it high and away to Kelce. And most tight ends in this league aren't catching that ball, but when you have an All-Pro like Kelce, helps a lot. Are you at all concerned about? Let's go to the full box score here, so we can look at the receiving and rushing. You look at this receiving team, it's all Travis Kelce. Rashee Rice had a lot of receptions, but not a lot of yards. Are you concerned at all about the concentration of targets and share of the offense that Kelce has?
I mean, I feel like I would be, but he's proven to be a reliable target over the
Yeah.
seasons. I mean, you could sort of lock in on him. I mean, it's going to be a tough matchup too with San Fran and Fred Warner in the middle of the field.
I
But
believe the Niners have the best linebacker unit in football when it comes to um, the pass defense from linebackers and covering tight ends. I think that's the specialty of the 49ers
yeah,
unit.
I mean, Greenlaw is great cover in the
Mhm.
coverage too. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I I'm not too scared. I mean, they've shown it's enough up until this point. I feel like this win over Baltimore has really cemented it for me too.
Yeah.
Especially with Rashee Rice. Like, I mean, Baltimore defense in my mind is number one in the NFL. I mean, the Niners are right there with them.
hmm
But I mean, you only really need to toss it out to Rice out in the flat. I mean, they did it multiple times. Really, when there wasn't much available, and he was able to pick up 10 yards here, there, when really wasn't too much going on. No Tony in this game. I don't know if
I
he
think
ends up
Healthy's
playing
back
in the
for
Super
him.
Bowl, and I don't know if that's actually really helps him out or not. But yeah, I mean, there's some concern. I mean, nobody else in the receiving box score really lit it up or
Yeah.
really instills fear in the other team.
And that's kind of my fear. But like you said, it's been that story the entire season for the Chiefs, and yet it's still impossible to stop Travis Kelce. So it's easy to say, hey, let's shut down Travis Kelce and make this Chiefs offense go somewhere else, but no one's been really able to do it. And that's because Mahomes is so good at extending the play, puts the ball right on target. Kelce is a mismatch. No matter if you put a linebacker on him, he's too fast. If you put a safety on him, he's too big. So I'm with you. You want to say it's a concern because he gets all the target share or a vast majority of it, but at the same time, who cares because he's borderline unstoppable. And we'll see the
Right.
teams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, are you at all concerned with Pacheco's rushing average in this game? I
that's what I was
mean,
just about to ask you. A little bit. I would say you can kind of write it off because he's going up against such an elite run defense in the Ravens. But you would, if you didn't watch the Lions game at all, you would say the same thing about the 49ers run defense. And that's an elite unit too. They certainly didn't play like it. And we'll show the box score when we get to the Niners game. But I'd be a little concerned with, a team average of 2.8 yards per rush. That's really tough to win games like that. Luckily, this Chiefs defense is so good it can hold a top 10 offense to 10 points. But I am a little bit concerned by it. But when you think about the fact that this Baltimore defense is just one of the best rushing units, not just this year, but in recent memory, it mitigates that fear a little bit. How do you feel about
right.
it?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of how I look into it. I mean, Roquan, I mean, we're familiar with him,
Oh,
especially being in Chicago. Uh, but yeah, I mean that's a tough matchup. It's going to be another one next week. But I mean the way Pacheco runs the ball, this is just a bad game for him. I mean you never know when he's going to break one.
Hmm.
12 yards there for as long. But I mean Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't really somebody you can rely on either. So
No.
I mean they're definitely thin in pretty much weapons across the board. But like like we said, or like I said at least when we started the video, I mean I gotta trust Mahomes at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
He's been showing it's enough, especially relying heavily on that defense. They keep showing up and really just put so much pressure on Lamar.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they blitzed every third and pass situation because you can't give him time. Because you give him enough time, he's going to find the seam and run forward, or one of his guys are going to get open. They didn't give him enough time to really, he had to take his first or second read, and sometimes that guy was 10, 15 yards downfield, and that's not the throws that Lamar Jackson and that offense want to make. And so that was a great game planning from the Chiefs. But moving on, let's talk about the 49ers now. We just talked about the AFC Championship. Let's look at the 49ers tail of the tape and their game against the Lions. Number one seed in the NFC, second in offensive yards per game, third in offensive points per game, and really stout defense as well, seventh in yards per game and second in points per game with how good they are at taking opportunistic chances and turning the football over and giving it back to their offense. So very similar numbers to what the Ravens had in terms of offensive defense. It wasn't enough to beat the Chiefs. This Niners team, it looks great. They had some ups and downs in this NFC Championship game, but what's your big takeaway here from either the box score, the player performance, or just the game in general?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that I felt like the Lions kind of lost this one, but at the same time too, the Niners have shown that they could find ways to win football games.
Hmm.
The previous week they gutted one out in the last, pretty much the last drive against the Packers, and now when they're down big in the first half, they overcame the biggest conference championship deficit at halftime, being
Hmm.
17 points. Um, but yeah, I mean, in that regard, I feel like this is a team that is pretty much in the game no matter what. Um, and the announcer made the point where usually you're used to the Niner team being so heavy on the run, and they still are, but were lacking those big plays to where
Right.
when they got down by say 17, it's really tough for them to come back, but they found a way to still do it. Purdy was enough even with the interception. But yeah, I mean, I was impressed with that they still won. Still feel like Dan Campbell could have kicked a field goal.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah,
It was
I
the
mean,
first time that really, when they were up 24-7, it was a fourth and two, and like, yeah, maybe just go up, no matter what, just go up two scores. They had the chance to go push or go up three scores. They were 14, they made a three-score game. They didn't get it. The Niners had all the momentum, went down, scored a touchdown. They were only down seven there. Like that was a pivotal moment for me watching this game. And Dan Campbell and that coaching staff have been living off the fourth down conversions all year. Playoffs are a little bit different. Those don't fly as much, and turnover is much more pivotal. So that really did cost them. And I'm with you. I think the Lions lost this game as opposed to winning only 7 points in the second half there, and that was kind of garbage time backdoor cover if you're on the Lions in that game. So not very. They let up 27 straight points the second half. Not that competitive for them. Are you looking like concerned at all? Like I kind of am. 182 yards on the ground for the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs looked great in both the passing game and for the few catches he had, but really in the run game, just looked really explosive. And then David Montgomery averaging, 6.2 yards per carry, really some angry runs there. This Niners defense is supposed to be one of the best in the leagues in terms of yards and points per game. Yet this first half, the Lions really had him on the ropes and ran the ball all over him, frankly. What do you think that means? Is that a fluke or because maybe the Lions are just a really strong running offense, or do you think this has bigger implications for the game against the Chiefs?
I think it's a partial fluke. I mean, there's a huge game, obviously. It showed some flaws in the 49er defense, but I mean, they've been a top unit the entire season. They have great linebackers, great D line. So, I mean, we just saw Pacheco put up 2.8 yards per average against the Ravens. So, I mean, I think it is a point of some concern, especially Pacheco being somewhat of a similar runner to Montgomery, running it strong through the tackles.
Yep.
Um, but but yeah, I don't think Pacheco's gonna have a monster game. I don't think the Chiefs are gonna go for over 150 rush yards. That's still not gonna be their bread and butter no matter what.
Yeah.
I know they've been able to rely on it a little bit more this season, especially with the just a little bit less explosive pass offense, but I think they're gonna have to go back to it in this game in the Super Bowl, and you're gonna have to rely on Pat Mahomes. Um, but yeah, I think he's gonna have a fine game. I don't think it's gonna be a massive factor though. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. This offensive line for the Lions is one of the best in the leagues too. They came out in the first half, running the ball all over the Niners. You could see that there were some great defensive second half adjustments for them that were able to, keep them in this game and ultimately win it for them. But you didn't see as many explosive plays. You didn't see as many great runs from the Lions in the second half. So there was something the Niners did there to make this a little more competitive for them. And yeah, I'm with you. I think Brock Purdy, I think that Pacheco's going to average more than that 2.8 yards a carry this upcoming game against the Niners, but I don't think he does anything crazy and run in this Chiefs offense blows it up in the running game too. Again, that's not the style of play.
Yeah,
I will say the flips. Oh, go ahead. I'm gonna transition here, but make your last point.
oh yeah, no, yeah, just my last point, and I mean, smaller factor, but I mean, the Lions didn't go for it, on or for the field goals early on, or pretty much at any point. But Jake Moody, the Niners kicker, he's missed a field goal in each of their last three games now.
Hmm.
Missed one early, but I mean, they pulled it out in the end, so nobody's gonna really talk about it. But I mean, they don't have a strong special teams. I think that could come back down to hurt them,
I'm
as
with you.
I've seen a lot in playoff football. Moody's 24th in field goal percentage on the season. So, I mean, when you want to talk about a real weakness, I feel like that is in the kicker
I'm with
room.
you. Hey, as Bears fans, we know what happens to teams in the
I know.
playoffs the year after they lose Robbie Gold. The
Yeah.
Niners decided to move on from Robbie Gold, much like the Bears did. They're hopefuls in the playoffs. Obviously, the Niners going a little bit farther than the Bears did that year, but kicking is extremely important. Harrison Bucker probably second in the game, only to Justin Tucker. I don't think there's anyone else even in their tier in terms of kicking, and certainly Jake Moody. I think being a rookie in the Super Bowl is going to have pretty big implications. I'm with you there. I wanted to say when I said transition, I wanted to go to the San Francisco running game. And what I was really impressed with, honestly, is Brock Purdy in the second half and just his ability to stay composed under the first half, the pass rush was getting to him, either tipping passes, getting him off his game, making throw the ball away. Second half, he was really had a lot of pocket presence and awareness, extended plays with his feet, made some really nice plays. Both extending it and throwing it, but also with the run. You can see, a 21-yard rush there in that game too, that kind of sealed the game pretty much for the Niners, or pretty close to it. I was really down on Brock Purdy in the first half of the game, and he impressed me in the second half. Um, he impressed me a little bit more, but certainly not enough to make me want to take him over Patrick Mahomes, like you said. You look at some of these receiving leaders for San Fran at the bottom. Deebo Samuel with 89 yards. A lot of the yards that he's getting are, screen passes that he takes for 26 yards. And Brandon Ayuk, 68, 51 of those was on a pass that should have been intercepted, hit the guy in the helmet, and the ball went through the hands. And then Brandon Ayuk was able to still make the play. So they got to get Kittle more involved. But I'm not like impressed by any means with like the receiving for the 49ers this game. I think there are some, the box score doesn't say it all. You have to watch a little bit to know that, Deebo Samuel, well, he had a really good game, and the Niners need to keep relying on him because it seems like they go as he goes. Like Ayuk didn't have that great of a game despite 68 yards. Kittle didn't do much until the last drive or two. I think they need to get Brock Purdy needs to look better to get these superstars the ball when they're open.
Yeah, no. I mean, I agree. It wasn't super pretty, but same time, still got it done.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's been kind of Purdy's MO. I mean,
Hmm.
he has had some really good plays, but over the course of time, I mean, it's just he's been winning games, and that's kind of what matters most.
Yep, yep. I really like your point with Moody in the kicking game. Yeah, I think that's really going to come back to bite him there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the tale of opposites, though. You have a completely stacked offense weapon wise, and then I mean you have the really solidified quarterback versus the last pick who's making his Super Bowl debut.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's Mahomes has that pedigree and that experience, and him nor anyone else in this Chiefs team is really going to be phased by it. A little bit different for the 49ers, but I think what I'm really concerned about, even outside of the kicking game, is turnovers. You see Brock Purdy make only one interception last game, but multiple turnover-worthy plays, like I mentioned that Brandon Ayuk 51-yard reception. Patrick Mahomes, he looked about as good as I've ever seen him in this last game against the Ravens. It's an incredible defense. He, over 75% completion rate last game against some really great looking throws right on the money, even especially on third down. He's not gonna be forced into making errors where Brock Purdy will be, and that's where I think the real difference comes here. Again, with you, no official pick yet. Want to keep looking over some stats, and I'll probably release a couple more videos with some PFF grades. But it just seems like the Chiefs have the intangibles. They play mistake-free football, and that's what's really gonna give them the edge in my mind in this game. Any other like last
Right.
thoughts though?
Right. No, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. These are two elite football teams. They've been making playoff runs or at least in the hunt each of the last few seasons. So kind of comes down to those really small intangibles. And I mean, you might want to go to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes over Shanahan and Purdy in this
And
case.
and really that's what it was for me when I was betting on the Chiefs against the Ravens. Like I love Lamar Jackson and I love John Harbaugh, and it really was more of a reflection on Lamar. I don't trust Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, and I said that at the beginning of the season. I kind of took it back a little bit, but I said I don't think Lamar Jackson can win a Super Bowl. Kind of, again, I said I
Yeah, you
worked
said
a
it
little
like
bit.
week 4 or 5.
But I still don't think so. And especially going against Mahomes and Reed, like a good coach is going to out game plan you. I guess the Titans and Ryan Tannehill were able to out game plan the Ravens. Like you can't have holes, especially at your quarterback. And that's what I'm seeing for the Niners. If I would treat Brock Purdy almost the same exact ways the Niners treated Lamar Jackson. I would blitz the hell out of him on third and long and make that guy make quick throws under pressure downfield, and I don't think Brock Purdy can do that. And if he can, then you might lose that game. But
Right. I
that's the way
mean,
you want to live and die. And you want to press the line, not allow the screen passes to guys like Deebo Samuel that have amazing yards after the catch. Same with Christian McCaffrey. Limit that as much as you can and make Brock Purdy beat you with the throw. You know, I think the coaching, both offensive head coach and defense coordinator, matter a lot. I think you saw it in that Ravens game where the better team doesn't always win. If you have players and personnel that you can exploit. And I think that with Patrick Mahomes, you can't exploit him anyway because they're going to figure out a way to beat you. Brock Purdy, you can't say that.
yeah, no, I agree. I think it's be a lot of the same formula. I mean, Purdy's got a couple turnovers in the last few games now. Um, yeah, hasn't shown he's been able to hold on to the ball with all that pressure.
Yeah, we can talk about it more when we do our official picks, but it kind of this game, obviously, because it's a rematch with Patrick Mahomes, but it's not that different than when Jimmy G was on the Niners team, and I believe they had a lead in that game in the second half, but the moment was too bright, didn't make enough big time throws in the second half, and the pressure was really on him. I expect kind of a similar storyline and narrative for the Super Bowl this time is swapping Brock Purdy. They have more talent on offense. I don't think they're as dominant as the defense they did that year, but I don't, again, it's still Patrick Mahomes. And it's just, he really is like the Tom Brady of the new generation of football. And we'll see.
Yeah,
Even Tom Brady lost games
exactly. Yeah.
and against inferior quarterbacks too, like Eli Manning. But we will see. We will see. Anything else from you, Steve, before we sign off?
No, I mean, yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, I'm excited to get into some of these prop bets too, though.
Yeah, we will be betting a lot on these bets. I did really well in the Rams here, pretty well against the Eagle with the Eagles Chiefs last year. Be on the lookout for some prop bets and an official bet when this line starts to settle down and stabilize. We'll get something out there for you guys. But best of luck last week of the season. Let's make some money and go out strong.